This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately.
What's going on, everybody? So I'm not really tonight's just going to be a true crime call-in show, but if the the family members of Dee and Warner want to call in, if there's anybody out there, then feel free to do so. Family or friends or whatever. They were saying that they might call in, but I don't know. Who knows how that stuff works? But tomorrow I definitely have the brother of Deanne calling in. Hey, thanks, Swerbs. And we might even have a pretty small crowd tonight because, just like I said, everybody just keeps wanting to watch about Summer Wells. Summer Wells is the only case that matters in the entire world, everybody. The Summer Wells case. That is it. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you think about another case, you're an idiot, because that's the only one that anybody... Man, unbelievable. I mean, the same freaking, psychopathic investigator, water wacko from before, doing another show, and everybody's so enamored with it. You know, McDummy. I mean, you guys, this is just really ludicrous, you guys. I mean... absolutely incredible. I'm so ashamed of people, you know. So, anyways, here we go. It's just... Thanks, Eugenie. Yeah. So, I got the... I do have the waiting room set up, though. Maybe I'll turn that off. I don't know, But tonight's a true crime call-in show, so you can call in about whatever you want to talk about. I did notice that the case that we covered 3 weeks ago, the shopping cart serial killer, the shopping cart killer is becoming a really big story, and we covered it 3 weeks ago, the press conference and everything. Oh, wow. Thanks, Eugenie. And Cairo, no Wells tonight? I think I heard a ding. Yeah. Yeah. Well, feel free to call in if you want, Cairo. Who the hell knows what's going on out there? It's unreal. Yeah. 5,000 people staring and watching the same old shit over and over again. Whew. Wow.
Great, you're just jealous.
No, you know what? I'm not at all. The thing is, what it is I'm just, I can't believe it, Can't believe it. There's nothing interesting about that. Unbelievable. Well, to you, Gray, no, literally, there's nothing interesting. It's absolutely garbage, all right? All right. Hey, there's nothing new happening except a bunch of chaos. Yep, that's right. This case, Deanne Warner, is really, it's interesting because, in late April, I think it was the, what day was that? The 20, I think it was, let me load this up, hold on. I think it was like the 27th, 24th. No, that's right, 24th and 25th, that's right. Yeah, so on April 24th, throughout the day, she was in an argument with, I guess, almost seems like 3 co-workers and her husband didn't really stick up for her at all. And then later in the evening, they started getting into a bigger fight, such a large fight that Dee actually called up one of her buddies, Amy, to come pick up the child. So, you know, Deanne has 4 children from 27 to 32 years old, or something, 34 maybe. 27 to 34, and then she had another child when she was older, you know, like 43-ish, and that child was 9, so she called that friend to come pick up the child and get her away from what she believed was going to probably be a pretty nasty argument, because she's strong-willed and was going to fight for what she believed. And then she just disappeared off the face of the earth. So, you know, and the husband, the one that she was in that fight with, never helped at all in any of the searches. Hasn't been cooperative really, you know, with police. You know, only allowing like warrants and things like that. And then he's been in Mexico 3 different times during this 8-month period where people are looking for her. And he's not looking for her, never has. He just tells people, oh, she took off. That's pretty crazy. I mean, wouldn't you be, let's say she did just take off. Wouldn't you be looking for her? Or was the fight so bad that you just all of a sudden didn't care about her at all anymore? Forever. That's no way. No chance. All right, so something happened to her that night at this, well, you can't see it, but that night at this farm right here. It's actually, well, it's not really a farm. It's like this weird combination of some farming land, a trucking company for commodities, and then there's an actual house right here. Okay, I think the office was over here, perhaps. Yeah, so what was it? On the 25th, I think one of her daughters and her husband were going to go over there and have breakfast because their house was being renovated, and they were going to have breakfast. And they get over there and she's not there, so I guess they started making breakfast, but they could see that her car was parked over at the office through the window. And then after, I guess they ate or something, they went over and checked, and she wasn't there either. So then they started looking around, couldn't find her. Then they started, you know, calling other people. And then by the next day, they reported her missing. And that was back in, I think that was on April 26th is when she was reported missing. Yeah, are you guys going to call in though, Dustin? When I keep reading the chat, it takes so long. I don't want to do that again tonight. So is it this one over here? Is the longer black roof building? This one right here, right? Okay, so this one right next door to it. Yeah. Okay, so just right there. On the news, it said 1,000 feet, but they probably meant 100, right? Let's see. Yeah, it's like 100 feet. It's not even close to 1,000. No, there's no surveillance there. No, she didn't leave, truthfully. There's no chance in the world that she just left on her own, okay? You must have missed the show last night. Let's see, the 911 operator. That's why I wanted you to go back and watch it, but instead you were probably watching like one of the other people doing their drama shit. Let's see, the 911 operator for the Murdochs asked better questions than these share. Yeah, true. Yeah, no, she has a young child. She has never contacted anybody again since August. She didn't call anybody. She didn't try to get anybody to pick her up. She just vanished off that property. Her phone, her purse, and the husband, guess what he recognized? He said that a curling iron and a hairdryer are missing. Well, what guy in the world would ever notice that unless you're the one that made sure it was missing to make it look like she was missing on her own, free will, right? Come on, Truth Sleuth. Yeah, football. Come on. Yeah, there are cameras out there. You know, like, I guess they face that direction or something. And the police said that they didn't seem to be very, well, it didn't prove anything one way or another. That means there's something on those cameras. He just isn't saying it proves anything, which I thought was an interesting wording there. I think my mic does sound good, doesn't it? Yes, I just said it faced out to east over here. They got her brother had some sort of court appointed, I don't know if it was trustee or something like that makes the business decisions, something like that. Ah, jeez. What about the head? Conservator. There you go. Anyways, I'm not. Well, are you guys gonna call in, Dustin, or anything? Because if not, I'm just gonna switch it over to doing a. Just anybody can call in about any true crime. Because I was told that you guys were gonna call in earlier, so I kind of shuffled things around. But tomorrow we got Greg calling in, so that'll be good. Huh. The crackling? I didn't hear any crackling at all. Oh, you're trying to? Okay. Well, I can give you the numbers too. Like, there's phone numbers you can dial. Like, you don't need the app with the phone number. So if I put it on the screen right here, you can actually just dial these. Probably, let's see, this last number over here, the 929-205-6099. Then you dial the meeting ID and then the passcode right there, and you can just use your phone to dial in. No, it's okay. I don't know, Billy, Juliana, you weren't copying it or repeating anything. I'm just saying it was over on the east over there. Yeah, I have a heater on. Yep. Maybe Jake. Yeah. You don't make. I hate when What does that mean? What kind of questions? I don't know. Maybe. We don't know where her body is. Could be on the property. Might not be. They haven't found it. Oh, look at that. Got a called in. Alright, 517. 517?
Hello,
Hello, who's this?
this is Raquel.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
I'm Dee's daughter.
Yeah, I think you're married to Dustin.
Yes,
Are you guys both there, or?
yes, we're both there. Here.
Okay. Yeah, you're both. Yeah, but you don't have to be nervous. This is just you're just calling a buddy, right? That's it. That's all you gotta think of it like. Even though I don't know you. So maybe you could tell us. Let's see. I mean, I guess where do we start on this? Well, you're the daughter, so you actually know her, and maybe you can explain to everybody why you know that she wouldn't have just taken off without letting somebody know.
So, we are, first of all, we are redoing our house. So we weren't really living here, but we eat dinner at my mom's house pretty much every night. We took showers there. We basically did everything except sleep there, and she also watched our youngest daughter while I was at work. So we probably every Sunday would go there, eat breakfast, and my mom and I would go grocery shopping together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that Sunday when we went there, when we got there, we didn't think anything, and then all of a sudden we realized, she wasn't in the bathroom getting ready like she normally was. I noticed her car was in the garage. One of her cars was in the garage. The other car was parked down at her office.
Mm-hmm.
And also a loader was parked in front of the office as well. So we thought maybe they were down there fighting because we knew about the fight, the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So we made breakfast, checked the house, nobody was there. Kind of thought it was strange, but figured they were in the office, so we left. And both of us kind of got a weird feeling. So I just told him, let's check the office. I'll just see if we can take Angelina with us, because at that point we didn't know she was gone. So I walked into the office and nobody was in there. And I didn't see anything out of the ordinary, so we searched the office. I called her phone, which it went straight to voicemail, which was not like my mom. Text her, nothing. So then I called my siblings, my brother specifically, because he actually worked there in the office at the time, and he had access to the cameras. So he checked the cameras on his phone, didn't see anything, didn't see anybody walk into the office, nothing. So at that point, we drove down to Greg and Shelly's house, which is a mile or so down the road, and just to see if my mom went there. Not sure how she would have gotten there, but just to check. They hadn't heard anything from her, so Shelly came with us. We went to their property in Onstead. It's like 200 acres-ish. I'm not really sure, to be quite honest with you. It's a big chunk of land with a barn on it. to see if she was maybe there, and there was nothing there. So by this time, I contacted all of my siblings, and nobody heard from her. So then everybody came to my mom, and my brother got on the computer in the office to check the cameras there, to check back, through the night. Didn't really see anything.
So you actually got to watch the footage, and you never saw anything.
So I personally did not watch the footage. My brother Zach did. He watched it pretty quick. I think he did see Dale in the camera in the morning, like briefly.
On the
I think around
25th.
Yeah. Yeah, that Sunday the 25th.
So where was her car parked? If you were looking at the map, like if you're looking straight down, yeah, there's this big slab of concrete right here. Like where on there?
Yep. So that's the
No, the smaller one.
Over here?
In the next to the road.
Oh, this
Next
little
to
piece
the
right there. Okay.
Nope. Yep, that one there.
Okay.
That's the front door.
I see. Did she park there a lot?
No. There's two entrances to the office. That side wasn't the normal side she actually went into, where she was parked. She went into the other side. Other side where there's a camera. So if she would have walked in there, or anybody would have walked in there, they would be seen.
So there's no
on the
camera on the street side entrance?
There's a camera on the edge of that barn, but it faces the east. So you wouldn't be able to see her car pull up.
So like right here, it's facing like this? Like that way?
It's next to the red pad that you see right there.
Oh, okay. So over here?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Right there is exactly where it is.
Okay. So it's just facing. So there's really no coverage right here. It's kind of an odd place not to have coverage, though. I mean, it's like you'd kind of want to see the cars pulling in to your property.
There is cameras inside of the office.
Right. So it's almost like it was strategically placed there in a way, right?
And that vehicle that was parked there was Dee's second vehicle, her less common drove vehicle. There was a Hummer that was a vehicle parked there, and Dee commonly drove an Escalade.
Okay. So there was a Hummer parked right here, right where on that slab.
Yeah.
Pretty big slab, right? I mean, the Hummer didn't take up anywhere near all of it. I mean, it's I can tell by these other cars here. You could probably park 4 cars even on that little slab there. Maybe 3, but all right, so it was right there, and then you just saw it there and you thought, okay, she's probably in the office.
Yeah, I just thought maybe they went down in the office to fight. I really wasn't sure why.
But I wonder why would they drive over there to go
right.
Yeah, I mean, you just walk right across the little tiny driveway there and go walk in there and fight, but I don't know. I mean, so her other car, was that in the right spot, the one that she would normally drive?
Yes, that was in the garage.
Of the house, right?
Of the house, yes.
Okay. So her normal car was in the right spot.
Which is on like the west side of the house.
Okay. Like that's probably the entrance there then to the garage, the slab of cement there.
Yes, that's it.
Yep.
Okay. And then let me just so her what is she driving? Escalade, you said? Is that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So and that's her normal car. So that I don't know. I mean, why do you think the Hummer then couldn't have just been parked there just randomly?
No.
Both.
The Hummer was parked up, so behind the house there's sliding glass doors, and that's where Yeah, back where you see the
Hummer
vehicle.
almost might be in that picture.
Yeah.
One of those.
That's where it was normally parked. I really don't have any idea why it would have been parked down by the office and strategically driven down to the office without being in the cameras. It's very strange.
Where that white car is there. Go back one. You had a white car in your last picture.
Oh, that one? Okay. This one?
Yep,
Yeah.
that is where the Hummer was parked the day before Dee went missing.
Oh, but is it normally parked there, or just that was where it was parked on the...
They had been there. They had taken that vehicle on vacation, that Hummer. It was pulled by their big camper. And when they got back from vacation, end of March, it was parked there ever since.
Wow, what kind of camper is that? Pulling a Hummer? I mean,
It's pretty big.
yeah, normally like a Hummer's pulling something else, you know. All right, yeah, okay, so we got the Hummer was parked there on the 24th, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And how do you remember that or know that?
It kind of
Well,
sat there most of the time, so we just
when we would go to the house, we would park back
behind the
by
house.
the Hummer.
Yeah.
I see.
We were at the house 6-7 days a week.
God, I wonder if the Hummer then... Would there be a camera that would film the Hummer? Is there a way that the Hummer could get where you see it to the pad over here?
Without being on camera.
Yeah, without being on camera. Yeah.
Yes, you would have to go from its parking spot there, around the west side of the house, go out onto the street, and then pull in. Because if you were to take the most direct route, you would be picked up by a camera.
And how was it parked? Was it face in, perpendicular to the road?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pulled straight up to the door of the...
I don't know where the
Of
door
the
is because I can't do. There's no street view.
The door is to the right of your pin there.
Okay.
If you scroll, zoom in, you can see a pad that's directly in front of the door if you zoom in.
Oh.
It's on the far right corner.
See,
I
there's
might
a
be
little
covering
roof
it.
that sticks out.
Oh, right there. Okay.
Further right.
Right there, yep. That's the entrance to the
Okay.
the main entrance.
Yeah, but she was in the far one. Yes, right where you're...
Cursor.
Yeah.
So right there, that's the entrance.
The main entrance is the one to your left where you were first.
Okay. Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get it where. So when you parked, right, where was the car parked here though? Right where I have the pin.
Far right.
So like that.
Far right.
Like
Yep.
that.
On
No.
other
Keep going
side of
right. The right of the building.
Oh, way over here is where it was parked.
Yeah, right. Keep going. Right there-ish.
Right, that door is right there. So if you go left a little bit, that's where the second entrance is.
Okay, but where was the Hummer? I want to get where the Hummer was parked.
Right there.
Right
Yep.
there. Yep.
Okay. So not on this pad over here at all.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Let me keep moving this. So it's kind of like maybe something like that. You know?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that route right there would be invisible to any
Yep.
cameras, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So the office building, the long black roof building, on the west side of that building, directly facing the house, there is a camera, but it would not pick up. It'd be about where the gravel and the concrete meet. You see where that is?
Right here.
Right there. Yep. There's about a camera approximately in there. and it only really picks up that drive right in there.
Trying to look for all this. Right. So, but what does it just aim straight out, or does it point in a direction?
Yeah, that aims pretty much straight out.
Okay, and then
Straight out and down, kind of.
like maybe that way more. Oh, down. I know what you're saying. Like 45-degree angle towards the dirt, something like that.
Yeah, but you cannot see the Hummer in that from that video coverage.
Right. And then you said there was another camera right over here, right?
Yep.
Right on the corner where the Hummer was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
faces
faces
the east.
Is that right? Where I have
I
it?
think that was
Right there?
correct.
Yep.
Okay, and then you're saying it faces east, so if we were going to draw the, let's see. Yeah, maybe it would have an angle like this, and then hold on, I'll finish it, hold on. And then, like maybe the camera filmed like that.
A little bit. It picks up some of the intersection down there.
Okay, so about like that then, maybe? So a little bit more, the upper one's probably more in then, right? Like maybe something like that. What do you think? Something like that? Or do you think the one on the left it picks up more? Okay. All right.
That's quite accurate right there.
All right. And then this one here probably just picks up most of the side of the house over here and the ground, right? Like, have you?
Yeah. Did this one get the fuel tank?
I think it gets the fuel tanks facing the back of the back.
So if you scroll back, back by that silver barn, there are fuel tanks, and that picked up who was at the fuel tanks.
So that
Silver,
camera right here, what fuel tanks? Where are the over here or what?
Go scroll back by the silver barn, right in there. There's a white and gray looking something.
Right there. That's a
Nope,
gray.
just to your left.
Okay, this thing right here. Oh, that was
No.
right here, right there.
Yes. So, yes, that's right there, right there.
So it picks up part of that, right? So that camera would be
Yes.
kind of like, maybe just to the right of that slightly, and then
Yep.
then maybe the other one. So usually they kind of. So it doesn't even film the house at all, right? It's over here like that.
No.
It's like that kind of. Oops, like that.
I think a little less towards
The tanks.
Yeah, go right with that.
Okay. How about there? Does it pick up any of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it might have shown Jared.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Maybe about like that.
You got another camera. You got another camera in the shop. The shop is it's the barn that has like two looking roofs on it.
This one, right?
To the left.
Oh,
To the
right.
left.
Here. Okay, that one.
Nope.
Yep.
That one there. But the camera is inside of the shop, so
Okay.
that wouldn't help you out much.
So is there only two outside?
Two
Cameras.
I don't know.
Two cameras, yes. Now the one that's inside of the office could see just outside the front door, but nothing to.
Was it
if
right?
a vehicle pulled up directly in the front of the office, right in front of the office door, you might be able to see something. But
Is that right?
it's not
Okay,
picking up.
is that right here? That this is this?
Nope. The other roof to nope, in the middle of there.
Right there.
Yep, that's the one. Yep.
Okay, so there's a camera inside that's facing that
Faces
front
towards
door.
the door. Like I said, if something was directly in front of the door, it would pick it up.
But when the Hummer drove by here, would it not set that off?
It would not if the Hummer was on Munger Road there. No.
And then cut in. Right, I see.
Yep.
Like, but if it cut
So
across like that.
if they took your route you have marked out there, you wouldn't see it.
Okay. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting to see that the Hummer, where it was before, took, and where it was found, there's this really route that you can take that is invisible to all cameras. So it's possible that the Hummer took off from the house, and that maybe that was a vehicle used to, transport her if she's not there, right? I mean, I don't mean to sound, I apologize for talking like it technical like that, but that's kind of the only way to do it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry you're having to go through this. I mean, it's just, missing persons, I always tell people are, probably the worst, because there's just like 8 months of, like, have you had one day where you didn't wake up and just wonder what in the hell's going on? I mean, it's...
No. Every single day.
Right, yeah. So it's a nightmare.
Yes.
All right, so I don't know if I can't remember if you were in the middle of telling a full story and we stopped. But where were you at? Do you remember? I actually can't remember at this point.
Oh, I think I was kind of just talking about that day, that Sunday, with how I felt and what I saw, and yeah, we did actually, my siblings, and I reported her missing actually that night, that Sunday night.
So it was the 26th, right?
Well, it was actually the 25th. But they wouldn't report it for 48 hours or something. But we reported it that night.
Couldn't take action for 48 hours.
I see. So the same day that you went there to have breakfast, but it was just later in the evening.
Yeah. Yep.
What somebody said, went to your Uncle Greg's place. Oh, maybe that was part of the story. You had just went to your Uncle Greg's house.
Yes.
And then
he, my Aunt Shelley, Greg's wife, came with us just to help us look around. We went up to their property in Onstead and the what? Oh, yeah. So the house that's actually northeast of theirs. You saw where we live by the cell tower.
Mm-hmm.
There was the other house too that was next to it.
Seems like I've lost the cell towers that I had on there. I don't know what happened, but
scroll in a little bit.
Okay, so you're talking about he lives over here to the east. So
no, too far.
It'd be up Carson.
Yeah.
The intersection of Munger and Carson.
Oh, okay, that's just right.
So they
here.
own a house right behind there, basically between our house and their house.
No, other side.
Oh,
same side of the.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Like maybe right
here.
Right here.
Yep,
right.
Yep, that one. And at the time, there was nobody living there, so the house was checked, and there was nothing. And by this time, I think I actually called Stephanie. Asked her if she talked to my mom because she talked to her all the time, and she hadn't heard from her. And I think at that point, she talked to Dale. And then he called me. I think it was probably about 12:30. And he said he was spraying in the field somewhere. I do not remember where he said. Maybe Brooklyn.
He was doing what? What did you say?
Spraying chemicals in a field.
Oh, I thought you were saying praying. I was like, praying? Man.
Oh, sorry. Spraying.
Okay, spraying. Okay. All right. All right. Wow. So maybe how long have you known? You've probably known Dale since they got married, obviously. So what are you? What are some of your experiences there? Or is that something you can talk about, or?
I mean, I feel like he has probably not been my most favorite person. He's a different kind of person. I guess I've never really cared for him. He's not a nice person. I feel like he's the kind of person that doesn't talk, and when he does talk, his comments are rude and disrespectful. And he's very selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'll put it lightly.
So how long were they been? They were married for like 20 years or something?
So I was in second grade. So what is that?
8?
10? No, 8.
Yeah.
8 years old. Yeah. And I am 27.
So 19 or 20 years, something like that.
Yeah. Is when they got together. So they haven't quite been married that long, but you know, they've been together since then. So yeah, so I've known him for a long time. I've basically lived in the same house with him for that long because he moved in fairly quickly.
Yeah. Huh. I'm trying to get all the pieces together that you guys know about, but I don't want to just sort of have you start saying stuff that you're not supposed to be saying. I don't know if there is anything like that. There's probably a point after 8 months where you're just like, we just want to tell the story, you know?
Yes, exactly. I don't really have any information that I've been told not to tell, so because they've given us no information to go on, so.
Well, that's interesting too. Here's the thing: is like when the police are working with families and really engage with them, they tell them not to say this or that, and everybody's on the same page, and you know why and everything. But it sounds like in this case, they're not even doing anything. Like,
no.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
The only time that maybe we get any information is if, they always dedicate one person to, I don't know, be the spokesperson, and my brother, one of my brothers has been that, plus Greg. But really, the only time they get any information is if they call them. Like my brother Greg calls the detective. They don't really give us any updates ever on what's going on.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
So we really don't know.
Okay, so tell us what you know about what you've heard and looked into of what happened on the 24th throughout the day.
So my mom was at my older sister's house in the morning. She had a fight with Terry and his wife, mainly his wife, then led to Terry, that led to Todd because of the relationship. My mom was really upset about it. And she was trying to basically tell Dale what was going on, but he didn't really have much to say, I guess, at the time. And so my mom was upset that, so some of the things that the wife said to my mom were stuff that supposedly Dale had told the wife about my mom. And that was kind of what struck up the fight between my mom and Dale. That basically saying my mom was crazy and all this stuff that supposedly Dale had told the wife. And that's what started the fight between my mom and Dale. And why she felt like he never had her back for anything. And so that was Saturday morning, I believe. And so she was at my sister's all day, upset, really upset. Actually got sick from being so upset. And later that day she came home, and I actually stopped there around 4:30 to use the bathroom. And she was really upset, telling me that she wanted to sell everything and be done. She wanted a divorce. She couldn't do it anymore, which, to be honest, was a common thing. A lot of the time she was done. She wanted a divorce. She couldn't do it anymore. But some part of me knows that this time was different, because my mom is a firecracker, and usually when she's upset, she's like yelling and throwing stuff and done. But this time she wasn't. She was like mentally exhausted, and told me she had already told my brother that she was gonna sign everything over to him and be done with everything. She couldn't do it anymore.
Wow.
And I told her, basically, you know, do what you got to do, but you need to be happy. And for my little sister's sake, I felt it was necessary for her to make a change, and I told her that. And that was kind of the end of the conversation. I left, and I came back to my house, and we worked on it till probably 11 o'clock at night. And at the time we're staying at my dad's house, which is like 2 blocks away from my mom. So when we were driving back to my dad's house at night, I drove by her house and noticed that the lights were on about 11. Which I thought was kind of...
What were you working on that night?
My house.
Oh, your house. Okay.
Our house.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So then your dad's house, but you were over at your biological, well, he's your father's house, right?
Yes. Yep. We were staying there. We were living there at the time.
Okay.
Because our house was under construction.
Right. Like the same reason you'd have breakfast over there at Dee's
Correct.
house. So so when you were driving back home, did you still sleep at your own house? It just you couldn't do all the other stuff, like you're probably remodeling your kitchen and things like that? Or
nope, our house was completely unlivable. So we actually lived at my dad's house. We slept there, basically. We just did everything else at my mom's house. Like, we ate and showered and stuff at my mom's most of the time, and then we just basically slept at my dad's. But most of our time was spent in our house working on it.
Okay, so where were you headed when you drove by the house?
To my dad's. From our house.
Oh, from the house that you're... Okay, I see what you're
working
saying.
on.
So he's like to the left, to the west of...
to the west.
Yep, to the west.
Right, so you would have come down, like, I think this... I don't remember where the cell tower is now, but it was down this direction.
Yeah. So down Carson to Munger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Find the cell tower. You're going to want to scroll into Dee's house.
Yeah.
Go north on Carson.
Yep.
Right up to your right, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then we drove down.
I don't remember where is the cell... Because yesterday I had them all figured out, the cell towers, but I lost it.
Zoom in a little bit.
Okay.
Nope, too far.
Go back down towards my mom.
All right. Well, there's a tower right there. Okay.
Yeah, so right there.
But you don't live at the tower, right?
No, if you
right
there.
in front of the... Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, right there.
All right, so you were driving there, and so I can probably just put a pin right here, like, you know, where you guys live, something like that, like R&D maybe, something like that. All right, and then you guys drove down this way, and then where is the dad? One of these? Your dad?
It's kind of
2 miles away.
Oh, it's pretty far down there. Okay. So, like, then you were just heading from this house to your dad's house, and what time of night was that?
It was about 11 o'clock.
All right, so you would have been coming like this, and that would have been like 11 p.m. And then what did you notice when you drove by?
I noticed that all of the lights were on, like their bedroom, the living room, the kitchen, which was kind of strange at that time with nobody being there. And when I got back to my dad's, I texted my mom and I didn't hear anything back, which was strange too.
Wow.
But I also know that that day she did have a migraine, so that was why it was strange to me that the lights were on. All the lights were on.
Yeah. And, well, what time does she normally go to sleep?
She doesn't really have, she's more of the type that falls asleep on the couch watching TV.
That's right, but plus I was told last night by, I think it was, hold on a second, Catherine, that farmers, you guys don't sleep. I don't know if you're farmers, but that's what she said, that you guys don't sleep. But, okay, so it just seemed, so you actually remembered thinking that it was weird that she didn't, I mean, you didn't think it was that weird when she didn't reply to your text message? Or just later?
Well, I did think it was kind of weird, but I thought maybe she was sleeping. But when I think back now, when I saw all the lights on, and when I got back to my dad's and texted her and she didn't respond, it was kind of weird. But it's hard to say that, you know, she didn't fall asleep on the couch.
Yeah. Let's see.
I knew something was weird when her phone went straight to voicemail. Because my mom, one of the biggest things that was a red flag to me personally was she's always on her phone. Like, you can't have a conversation with her because she's on her phone so much. So for her to have it be off and her not be on social media or texting is very strange.
Yeah, I mean, she absolutely loved all of her kids, and you know.
Yeah, and she actually, I mean, she was our main babysitter for our youngest child. So, I mean.
And by the way, did anybody ever check her phone? Was there any outgoing call? Like, I mean, if you got her phone records, you'd have a pretty clear idea.
I don't believe there was anything that morning, but to be honest, Greg will have more information on that. He has more of the phone records, text messages, all that stuff. So he'll have more information on that tomorrow.
Okay. Because the thing is, if there's any, I mean, it'd be interesting to see where a phone call might have been made after 11 o'clock and maybe between like 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. or something. If there's nothing, then who would have picked her up?
Right. But
that's where Dale says that Dee had a burner phone to make her phone call.
Yes.
Okay.
But at the same time, my mom couldn't remember password to save her life or do anything on her phone by herself. So to me, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and why would she? I mean,
He wouldn't.
God, she has a burner phone. What a convenient way to,
A convenient excuse.
And the sad part is that sheriff probably went, okay, that I can work with that. I can, that's the thing. That's probably what he did. He probably heard that and went, okay, good. You give me an out. Yeah, okay. She had a burner phone. Everybody. I don't know, man. I don't know how that guy got in there. It's weird just listening to him. He just doesn't even look engaged at anything. All right, so let's see, where were we at? So you drove by, and you thought it was a little bit weird. I mean, the lights were on, but then she didn't respond to your text, which is strange because if the lights were on, probably you would still be awake there. And then how did it go after that? Like then next day, maybe you can explain.
And that was the next morning when I don't think I texted her in the morning. We usually just showed up about, anywhere from 8:30 to 10 o'clock when we would show up. There was never a specific time. We would just pop in, eat breakfast. Yeah, the doors were always unlocked and open.
So you went in there and you just made breakfast for yourselves and thought she'd probably come in, and then later went out and checked and couldn't find her. And like, how long did you spend at the property? Did you look everywhere around in all the different buildings? And
we first made breakfast, then we went down to the office, and then we came back up to the house and looked around upstairs, basement, everywhere in the house. Yeah, we did the barns. We did the barns in the afternoon when we came back. But all my siblings were there. My cousin. We all, kind of searched everywhere, but there was nothing.
I wonder why he wouldn't just put the Hummer back where, let's say he moved it intentionally. Why not just put it back where it was originally? I mean,
well, it was kind of weird because, we went out searching, and then by the time we came back, I think later that day, he had already moved the Hummer back up to the house. So we couldn't, we actually were going to look in there to see where the seat was, because there's a significant height difference between the two. But the Hummer was already moved back up to the house.
Oh, interesting. So you remember
where it was originally sitting.
You remember it being there when you had breakfast, but then later he had moved it.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Later that afternoon, probably.
Can you think of why he would have put it there the night before? Like, why there? I mean,
because that was where she supposedly left her wedding ring, is on his desk in the office.
Oh, so that was part of the story he was telling.
So it was part of the plan.
But
pull down to the office, drop the wedding ring, but she didn't take, certain things that were in her desk. She didn't even walk over to her desk because it would have been picked up by the camera. His desk, where his desk is, it wouldn't show on the camera. So which is conveniently where she left her wedding ring.
Yeah.
Not in the house.
That's
or anything. Weird. It was on his desk.
So that camera right there, if a car drove on that road, would you be able to see it to the right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was nothing. What's that?
Yes, but you would not pick up Dee's Hummer coming in from the west.
Right, but so that means, but you guys were able to. I don't know if you watched any of the surveillance, or were told about it. So there was no. That way was eliminated then, because there was no car like between 11 2.
Yes, I watched the cameras with Zach that on the 25th, the morning. And that's one thing that we were looking for, is vehicles coming and going. And for the most part, we saw, very familiar vehicles that live in our area going up and down the road. But you can kind of also consider the speed a car is going when it goes past. Did it just pull out from the house? But they weren't. They were, booking along. So
that's true. Yeah. So the let's see. Were you able to watch the late night on the 24th too?
Yes. One thing that stuck out to me, which this is already known, we did see a semi truck being started, and the only thing we could see is just the headlights turning on from that semi truck, and it warmed up for a while, and then it took off.
Is that right? Is that right there in that on that red sort of pad there?
Nope.
No.
The it'd be far west. The other semis parked there.
Oh, okay. And what light? So were you looking at this other camera and you just saw some lights light up a building?
Correct.
Or something?
Yeah.
I see.
Yep.
And then did you see the semi maybe come down like this where the camera is and then out?
You can see the beaten path back there behind the barns where the semis come in and out.
Oh, I see. So you could see it when it came out and got onto the road.
Correct.
I see. So you could actually make it out on both cameras. The light on this camera, right, and then this camera could see it actually, the physical vehicle itself, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So you saw that. So, Dale would know exactly which way to go. So if he was taking her somewhere, he just merely would have taken the Hummer, perhaps, driven out to Munger and taken a right from his perspective, or west is a better way.
Which is actually, conveniently enough, he explained to me how she would have driven that Hummer down to the office that day. He explained that to me.
Really?
Because she was supposedly trying to hide from the cameras. So he said, well, she would have driven down, this way, down to the office.
I bet you she doesn't give two craps about the camera, knowing anything about, this is a good way to hide from the camera.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. So he's actually explaining to you the way
he took the Hummer.
Right, he was basically projecting is what he was doing. Yeah.
Yes.
And did he say that it was parked right here and then she just moved it like that? Exactly how I have it there?
Yeah.
So she was there.
So Dale did do a lot of talking in the beginning. He did say some things that kind of stood out to me. So I used to be a Michigan State trooper for a while. When we were in there, in the academy, they taught us criminal psychology. And one thing they taught us was how criminals, murderers, like to explain or to get some things off their chest. And Dale told the story of that night. He said Dee had a terrible migraine. He said she was laying on the floor, which Dee also has multiple couches that she would have been laying on. But she was laying on the floor, and he started rubbing her back and her neck. And what I was kind of taught in the psychology school was, were you rubbing her neck or were you choking her neck?
Yeah, and also.
And then he also said.
Go ahead.
And he also said that I rubbed her back and her neck until she fell asleep. So did you rub it until she fell asleep, or did you rub it until she died? And then he said once she fell asleep, I picked her up and put her on the couch. So did you pick her up and put her on the couch, or did you pick her up and dispose?
Yeah, that's just, that's really ominous sounding there. It's also maybe it's like projecting on what they did, but explaining it in a non-nefarious way. But it also could be to like in case she's found. Oh well, no. I mean, I told you I was, I rubbed her neck, so of course there might be some, Yeah. I think it's more though what you were just saying. That he so like I don't know if you guys remember, there was a Jodi Arias case a long time ago where she had all these lies, but a lot of her lies were truths, just so it's easy to remember the truth, and then it's easier to tell a lie when you're using the truth in it, right? So the truth is that he probably did have his hands on her neck, and she was on the ground, and she was over here, but it's just a slight changing of the reality of it, and it's easy to tell.
Correct.
You could retell it again, and it'd be easy to do. You just say, so. Yeah, wow, that's crazy. Anything else like that? That's pretty wild.
Not really that I can think of. He did change some stories. He told that morning that he told Shelly it was last night was the worst fight we've ever been in. Weeks later, it would have changed to...
No, actually, like 10 minutes later.
Oh, 10 minutes later, yeah. It changed to, it wasn't that bad. Really wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just, I mean, that's so common right there, that one. I've heard that one a million times. And especially a lot of times too, when they say, we got in a fight. Well, if you even admitted that you got in a fight and they're missing, that means it was a horrific fight. Like sometimes when they say, "Oh yeah, we got in a," it was a little bit of a heated argument. Nothing out of the ordinary. Well, that means it's really out of the ordinary, and it was way more than just heated, right?
Correct.
But you're admitting to it so that it's part of the story. You feel better about yourself, like you're getting away with it more if you're, hey, I was being honest, I know exactly what's going on in their heads. Wow, that's just absolutely crazy, all those. Let's see, what else? What else you got? I mean, there's just so many. You probably have a million things that you think about. And we've talked about a lot of different things.
So for a while, Dale tried to. Well, I played dumb, and I sided with Dale for a while, just to hear what he had to say. Unfortunately, he never said anything worth a damn. But he thought we were buddies. He thought I was in agreement that D took off to Mexico, Jamaica, wherever the hell it is. And he would come and he would talk to me. He actually came into my house a couple times here when I was working on it and wanted to shoot the shit about things, and I'd play along. And there was one instance where Dale called me and told me to Raquel and I to come down to the house. He's got something to show us. So Raquel and I went over there. This is 4 months later, by the way. Came down there, and he showed us this goodbye letter, what he called Dee's goodbye letter. In this letter, it never said goodbye. It was more of an apology of some fight they had been in. Really never said a whole lot. But one thing I can tell you from the D that I know, if a D's goodbye letter would be F you, eat shit, enjoy a miserable life, hope you fail. That's D. She's a fiery little woman. And it never said anything like that. Well, when we were reading this letter, Raquel and I, Dale turned his back. I pulled my phone out and I took pictures of all 3 pages of that letter. And I, later on that day, Raquel had sent those pictures off to her siblings. And one of her siblings, her brothers, said, when did Dale say this was written? And Dale had told us the letter was written within a week or 2 of her disappearance.
Oh,
and so we told Zach that, or not Zach, TJ that, and TJ said that's complete hogwash. That Dale brought that letter to my house 2 years ago.
Really?
So
Wow.
two years ago, that letter was written, and Dale took it to house and was showing him.
But it was her writing and everything?
100%. Raquel, yeah, 100% her writing.
Okay, but so she did write it, though. Who wrote it, though? D
wrote it. D wrote it
Okay.
2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago. Dale was claiming it was written right before she took off. Claiming it was her goodbye letter, but really what it was is some kind of an apology for some argument or something like that.
Yeah, like she was actually
Raquel's brother.
It wasn't a goodbye where she would have said all the, F you, that kind of stuff. It was.
Yes,
right.
Correct. Never said anything like that.
That's interesting. And who saw that prior, so that they knew that it was 2 years old?
Raquel's brother, one of her brothers.
Okay.
One of Dee's sons.
Okay. Wow. So how many? She has 5 children, right? And how many daughters?
Yep, there'd be three girls total, 2 boys.
I see. Okay. That's interesting. Wow, there's just so many, and he has you come over to see it to just try to sell you the. And then why wouldn't he have shown you that like in, April, right?
April?
Yeah.
Or give it to the detectives, because he didn't give it to the detectives until he showed it to us, which was 4 months later.
And then you give it to the detectives. Did your brother go over and say, no, that was actually a letter that was written 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, what did the sheriff say to that?
Well, see, the brother didn't know anything about it because he didn't know that Dale took it in until we were notified. Dale told us it was the goodbye letter, and then Raquel's brother had said, no, hell no, that was written 2 years ago, and so then he called in and told the detectives. I'm not sure what the detectives know. They know Dale's full of crap. However, you can't get convictions on lies.
Yeah.
So the detectives are. This is above their pay grade, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just seems like such an obvious point at that point that he's turning in false information to sell a narrative. It seems like at that moment you'd go, your radar would just go, boom, he's top of the list.
Correct.
I just heard from Catherine. She said people in the chat somebody's talking about D. Oh, I see. That they think D maybe was driving that semi truck, but we already know that wasn't D. It was one of the workers there who was scheduled to drive it.
Yeah.
Come on, you guys.
But like I said, D drives a Cadillac Escalade. She doesn't drive semi trucks.
Yeah. Plus, we already know that it was one of those two people that were in the argument that was driving that one, right? That was the one at like 2 o'clock in the morning or something. Yeah.
Correct.
God. I don't know who typed that in above, but go put yourself in the corner for a minute. I don't read the chat. I don't read the chat very much, but my God, people. Wow. Okay. So anything else like that?
Oh, she asked if she knew how to drive a semi truck.
Oh.
Yeah. She didn't need to, right?
No.
Yeah. How about Dale? Can he drive one?
Oh, absolutely. He's a farmer.
Yeah. Man, those are some pretty wild little pieces of information there. Especially, you got a letter that's absolutely bogus that he's using to claim that she said goodbye for further proof to give out that she took off. And then you've got the other information. What was that?
The burner phone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the burner phone, and then you know, just the sort of his story about what actually happened there. It was really physical for such a great moment. I mean, okay, they're in this big fight, and all of a sudden, yeah, I was rubbing her shoulder and her neck, and then it's really weird, actually. That whole thing.
Yeah.
There's another one to add to it is Dale provided the power of attorney over D, and when we, which would be Greg, got the copy of it, the signature, D's signature, was absolutely terrible. There's no doubt in our minds that it was forged. We have a copy of Dee's driver's license, which would have her signature on it, and we compared it to the signature on this power of attorney, and it's not even remotely close.
Yeah. Why don't you get a handwriting expert to just quickly...
It is. Unfortunately, the detectives explained to us that with Dale's got a clean record as of now, and along with COVID rules in jails and prisons, Dale would end up spending no time in jail for it.
Yeah, but it would be further evidence that he did something, like
Correct.
a guilty conscience type of thing. Do you what do you think of the another thing that Catherine said was Dale was keeping witnesses from the sheriff? Is that a real thing, or I don't know anything about that.
If she's referring to the near mix, near mix, whatever, Todd or Terry, yes. I guess we talked about yesterday. Todd and Terry will not take polygraph tests.
That's right.
Todd has actually skipped, I think, 3 now.
And so it was Todd, Terry, and then a female, like Todd's wife. Is that right?
Yes. Now ex-wife. Her name was Terry as well. Very confusing.
Well, she might be an interesting person to talk to now, because they're
Yes.
Yes,
actually, Greg is speaking with her.
Okay. So can you tell me more about what was going on with that situation? I mean, it seems like that was just another thing that was going on. Maybe it's possible that some of them maybe helped him with something later, but it doesn't seem like it would be really weird if one of them was responsible for her death or disappearance.
So Todd's position at the trucking company was the dispatcher. So he dispatched trucks, set up loads, set up runs, did all the planning. And Terry was just a regular truck driver. My opinion is maybe Todd showed up that early morning, saw something, saw Dale awake, saw lights on at 3 a.m., not sure. And Todd's house is owned by the company, the trucking company. Todd's personal pickup truck is owned by the trucking company. Todd's cell phone's owned by the trucking company. Todd's whole life is that trucking company. It's all he's ever done is run trucking companies. And Todd liked to pride himself on what he made that trucking company into, and he did a good job at it. However, like to remind him that this is still my place. You settle down. This is still mine. So if maybe Todd saw something early that morning and Dale would have approached him and said, "Hey, I own you. I own your job, your house, your vehicle, your cell phone. You better keep your mouth shut or you're going to lose it all." Todd has no kids, no wife. Would Todd have maybe said, "Well, Dee's gone. This is my trucking company now."
Do you think
sure.
that the wife, them not being married anymore, had something to do with this incident?
I don't think the wife or the wife. I'm sorry, Terry and Terry. They had problems well before this.
Okay.
Years.
Yeah.
Years.
But is Todd the one that lives on the property, or is that?
Todd lives on Carson,
Oh,
south of Munger.
so just down, not very far though, just kind of like right around in there.
You are nope. You keep going down, south, I should say. Going south.
There's Highway 50 there.
Yep. Okay. So back up a little bit. Back north a little bit. You want to zoom in.
Mm-hmm.
About where your cursor is.
So it's just around in that area. Okay.
At the bottom of your screen.
I don't need to know the exact one, but I'll just put like.
Gotcha.
Like Todd is right over here. Somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, you guys all just live right around each other. It's wild. And apparently, like, you've known each other for centuries. I mean, it's pretty wild. I mean, man, if you knew somebody for 10 years over here, it'd be a miracle. Let's see. Do you guys have any questions out there? But his house is owned by the company. Yeah. So basically, if he got in trouble and she's not alive, that would be a big problem for Todd. He'd have no employment.
Correct. Well, currently, the trucking company is still operational now.
Yeah. And so how does that working? Who's running the show there?
Under the conservator now. So the conservator's been in place for 3-ish months. The farming, the crop farming, and the trucking company are all ran out of the same office. So it's still being ran currently, and now it's being ran by the conservator.
I see. And how does the conservator make decisions?
He just makes the best decisions on Dee's behalf, and he's just pretty much stepped in and continued to let the company run. Todd is still the dispatcher. The conservator just pretty much sees money come in and money go out the proper way.
Oh, thank God. You know, thing is, if it was a spontaneous kind of a snapping moment that's what it sort of feels like. It wasn't like, it doesn't seem to be all this other stuff that was thought through, right? I mean, what do you think about it? Do you think it was a planned event, or did it just happen?
No, I don't think it was a planned event, in my opinion.
I think the stars aligned right that night.
Yeah, my opinion is that Dee was truly serious, extension cord, about getting a divorce, and the way that their businesses ran is that Dale spent more money farming than what he made. Dale has the biggest and the best equipment, newest, latest and greatest, and he spent more money than what he actually made. And the trucking company, which made very good money, supported his irresponsible spending habits. And that farm would not run without the trucking company. And I believe that night, Dale could probably tell that Dee was serious about the divorce, and saying his career was coming to an end, because he would not be able to afford to farm without that trucking company. If Dee took off with that trucking company, he's done.
Yeah, his cash cow or whatever was gone. You know, he couldn't.
Correct. And I think he saw his career walk. You know, as soon as Dee walked out the door, his career walked out the door with it. And I think he said, "Oh, the hell you are leaving."
Yeah, I can see that. Picturing it. And that's why everything else is kind of just poorly executed. You know, you have this, oh, here's a letter, here's this, here, you know, all the crazy conversations trying to sell stuff because it wasn't planned out. It doesn't seem like it had something to do with the life insurance or anything. And although,
no.
Yeah, and that one, you know, because with life insurance, unless you have somebody legally declared dead, it just sits there for a long time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. 7 years. 7 years is when someone is declared dead.
Yeah. I was about to say that, but I thought, well, that sounds like some other legal thing that popped into my head, but I didn't say it. Let's see. Yeah, so it doesn't seem like... I mean, that's basically it, though. His... You know, the spigot of cash, you know, that was going to be turned off, and his lifestyle would have changed absolutely dramatically at that point. Because he probably didn't even own
100%.
half the stuff, right, that he had, those trucks and everything.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. So that would be a reason, although it's kind of, it's weird because you have to, well, I guess in that case he insured himself to still be part of the spigot of cash, you know. She's dead, and now the business is still there as long as he doesn't run that into the ground. And you actually, who got the conservator? Was that Greg?
That was Greg.
Yeah, I mean, that actually helped him a little bit, right? Because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, I bet, running the place, right?
Oh, no, Dale's got a accountant that works for him that has been convicted of embezzlement 3 times.
Wow.
So he's got one sketchy dude running the place right now.
Wow, it just gets crazier by the minute. Absolutely.
He had worked for D and Dale previously, about 5 years ago, and he was fired because he was just doing irresponsible things. And so they fired him, and he did not return back to work for the business until after D was gone. 2 weeks after D was gone, he came back.
Man. Wish there was about 10 more cameras out there that night.
Yeah.
Man, it's just, it seems like a really obvious story, but then it comes down to, you know, what can you prove, right? And it seems like all that stuff, sounds like Greg's got, you know, he's starting to, you know, ruffle feathers to get the proving part going.
Absolutely. Greg is making a lot of enemies right now, but I don't think he minds one bit. And he's pissing the right people off to get the answers they need.
Yeah, it's probably people in law enforcement that he's making mad, right?
Oh, 100%.
Well, the thing is, when you're not doing anything, and you still keep talking about, well, if you see her walking around, hey, if you see her walking around, let us know, all right?
Exactly.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. So, hey, I don't want to keep you guys on. I know you've been on for, you know, way over an hour now. But we're going to have Greg on tomorrow, and if you want to hang out in the chat and, you know, throw out some comments that I can throw his way, that'd be cool.
Sounds good.
Do you guys have anything else you want to add tonight? I mean, I just want to say I'm sorry you're having to go through this. It just sounds like she was a really, I mean, I guess there's a miracle chance that she's out there, but I really, just based on what you guys say about her, there's no way she wouldn't be contacting you guys or somebody. And so most of you probably, I mean, none of you believe she's still alive, right?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, nope. So that's just a nightmare.
Definitely. Yep.
So, well, I appreciate you guys coming on, and maybe we'll have you come on again. Maybe it'll be another show where you could have like 5 of you on and bounce stuff off of each other for a while. Who knows?
Yeah, sounds good.
But how do you say your name? Is it or like Raquel?
Raquel.
Okay, so it's just like, but it's just spelled
like
differently.
Raquel Welch.
Yeah, just spelled completely differently than I've ever seen in my
yeah.
life. Okay. and Dustin, so thank you, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll see if we can get more publicity to this and get the ball rolling. Let's get it. Let's get something done. All right. Well, have a good one. All right. Talk to you later. Right.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Recording stopped.
Oh, it automatically records, but obviously it was being recorded because it's on YouTube. Wow, it's crazy, man. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to these and put everything down for notes. A lot of wild stuff in there, you know, especially stuff that Dale has done. A lot of weird stuff. What do you guys think about that? But anyways, I know we're not doing summer wells or some other case like that, but right now we're about, I don't know, 50% of a normal night. That's including the earlier show. So I've already done 3 hours of shows today, and we're only at a 50%. So if you guys feel like you can help out the channel with the super chats and the channel membership, that'd be great, because we've got goals that we got to meet, because this year has got to be better than last year. Thank you, Cindy Lynn. And we got the phone lines are open if anybody wants to call in, but I'm going to go use the facilities now. Yeah, well, there's also in the community section, you can go sign the petition to get the state police involved and take over the investigation. Hey, look at its basic milk. Thank you, Cairo, and then I think there was Charisma. Yeah, might end up being a shorter show. Hey, there it is, the basic milk. That's actually a face with milk next to it. Welcome, Catherine Phillips, to the freaks. Super chat for the Super Max. Well, all I have right now is my my jail cell. I am working on. I'm trying to come up with the concept of the Supermax. It'll probably be like just this hard, just metal bars that come down with this little tiny window with just my eye in it, and it just maybe there's different layers that have to come off of it. I don't know. But I'm definitely in prison right now. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't work. I've seen sometimes they do work on, I thought. I've seen emojis that, I don't know, maybe they don't. Yeah, Catherine Phillips is the one that's in on Facebook. The family friend for 200 years. Hey, thanks, Lily. Is that a Mexican, like a pesos or something? Or thank you. Oh yeah. Well, I think it's been 8 months now, so I think a lot of the family members have probably resigned themselves to that she's not alive. But every single day, you just, I mean, I can't even imagine, really. I mean, the only way I can imagine is like, you know, like I said, I've had a brother die, you know, when I was 20, he was 22. And then you have that crazy feeling, like the day that he dies, and you're, you know, I went to the hospital and he's just lying there, and I like put my hand on his head, and I mean, it was just, you know, but that's a higher level right there. But it would be the level when you're in the waiting room and you're still thinking there's a hope that they're alive. I think it's probably on the same level when somebody's missing, even if you don't think that they're alive. You're probably at that level, and it just stays that way for, you know, months, right? Sometimes years. You know, you got people that have missing family members with no answers for 40 years. And, you know, at some point they're able to live with it. But man, it must take, you know, decades to be able to, you know, breathe again. Thank you, Jake D. Thank you, Cheyenne R. Bail. Oh yeah, are you guys bailing me out? I can't tell what this is for. Lily sent in, but it doesn't say bail on it. And then Jake's doesn't say bail, and then Cheyenne R says bail, but it's not going to get me. It gives me. I'm slipping the $2 to the guard just to get out of my cell. Well, good. I'm glad you shared it. Yeah. I guess the part that just from tonight, it was just the craziest part was like that he explained what he, you know, that Dale explained how he was physically touching D on that night, the 24th, you know, at night, like later in the night. And it was really almost, you could completely picture that being how he actually, and like I said that he probably strangled her. And that sort of, the way he was describing that, that's exactly what that sounds like. And he was probably on her back and she couldn't get to him. And he probably strangled her. And then he carried her body to the Hummer, not to the couch or a bed. And then he took the Hummer and then he went out to the road and took a right. And then later, while he was driving, he was processing. What do I do? Okay, I'm going to make it look like she's leaving. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll pull it up here. The camera can't see it. I'll pull up the car and I'll put the ring. Yeah. Right out of the movie. I saw that in the movie. I'll put the ring right there on the counter. And it'll look like she just left. That's it. You know? What's odd though is that he moved the Hummer, like again, to put it back where it was. So did he think about that later and go, or he wanted people to see that the Hummer was there, and then later he moves the Hummer, you know, contaminating it again, you know, like I was just moving, I'm just moving it back to where it normally is. I don't know why it was parked over there. It looks like she parked it there to put the ring in there. I want to know, did he get people to come over to check out the ring? That it was placed there with the Hummer at the same time? Or did he just tell people that story? Yeah, the lights are on part. That could, that could mean anything. It was only 11 o'clock. I think the bigger one was that she didn't respond to Raquel's text message. And she would normally do that. That would be the weird part. Oh, there you go. Lily sent me some bail. Alright, we can get out of here. Yeah, waiting all that time. Yeah, that sucks, Brenda. Yep. Yeah, that was a... Malakia is just another... It's a story just like Summer Wells. But nobody's going to talk about Summer Wells. I mean, Malakia, because it's not Summer Wells. They're going to talk about Summer Wells over and over and over. So he had it in his pocket. Okay. So the Hummer being parked there, you guys were the only ones that really noticed that then. So I wonder if that wasn't really for show at all. He just sort of left it there, and then later he thought, maybe he came up with a thought, like, maybe I need to put it back to where it normally is, because my story is going to be she got a ride with somebody. Like, if I have her Hummer over there, they'd say, well, where'd she go? Why'd she leave her Hummer here? If I put the Hummer back where it was supposed to be, the story makes more sense that she got a ride with somebody and was picked up right at the office there where I put where I claim to have got the ring. Because it wasn't kind of making sense to anybody. Why would you need to drive the Hummer? Okay, so here's what he thought of later. Why would you need to drive the Hummer from the house to the office when it's so close like that? She would have just walked over there. So that didn't make sense. He realized that didn't make sense. So then he puts the Hummer back to where it originally was after he used it for nefarious reasons. And then he came up with the whole story about the ring. Because people would wonder, well, why'd she park her Hummer over here? Why did she need to drive the car there to drop off the ring? Like, what would that even mean? Yeah. Well, on the Malakia case, I guess in that one, it's going to be pretty... There's Steph May. She's been playing hooky from us. God. Jeez. I'm just kidding. I texted her. I said, "Hey, are you gonna come over here? You're gonna watch some more of the Summer Wells videos." What do you think about that one, Raquel? Because I think it looked odd that the Hummer was over there, and he realized that later, then moved it. He's like, "Oh shit, why would it be?" I mean, I know it was a big ring. It cost a lot of money, but I don't think you needed the Hummer to drive it over there. No, that's awesome. You're all free now, right? Just waiting to get your second shot. Awesome. I don't know if the Hummer's been inspected. Now that's one of the things we don't know. Did they bring in the cars, put luminol in there, check it out, or anything? Hey, one of the problems in a case like this, though, is her DNA is expected to be inside the Hummer. I mean, I guess certain types, maybe not, but you know, her hair fiber is going to be in there, so it's the perfect choice for him to have used, because now if there's hair fibers in a weird place in there, maybe. Oh yeah? But why would he even need to? Well, here's the thing, everybody. He needed to use the Hummer because he had to use a vehicle, and he wasn't going to use his own vehicle. Well, God, he did think of that. Because here's the thing. He's going to use one of her vehicles to drive her because her DNA and fibers are always in that vehicle. If he used his car, it would be a little less likely that you'd have hair fibers, and quite a bit less likely. So he's using one of her vehicles, and then he uses the Hummer. So he probably used the Hummer to take her somewhere. Then on the way back, he parked it right in front, because he thought through this. I'm going to leave the ring and make it look like she left. He pulls the Hummer up, and then he puts I don't even know if that even happened, the ring part. He pulls up and he leaves the car there thinking, oh yeah, because she would have left the ring. He gets kind of convoluted, because after a while, we've had these other people tell stories too where it starts not making sense, so you get kind of confused. A little bit like Landry. Brian Laundrie, I mean. It's a little bit like him. He started to try something, then he had to change it up. It wasn't making sense. Thank you, Lisa Wilkerson. Yeah, so he gets the Hummer, drives her somewhere this way, comes back and just pulls it in there, knowing that the cameras aren't going to film that. Pulls it in, and then he just gets out of the car and walks over here, and he was just probably thinking, well, I don't want to put the Hummer near my house. He just wasn't thinking through it. And then later he thought, okay, I got to move. He could have thought in his head on the trip, I'm going to tell people that she left the ring in the office. So on the way back, he just thought it made sense to park the car there. It was just sort of a misstep in logic. Park the car there, and then that's how the ring would have got in there when he tells the story. But then the next day he goes, man, that doesn't make much sense. So then he takes the Hummer, puts it back where it's supposed to be, and then he still has the story about the ring that he's telling people. Right. You think that's why he drove it back? Yeah, because it didn't make a lot of sense, right? Exactly. The ring could have been metal detected. And thank you up there, Lisa Wilkerson, if I missed it. The ring could have been metal detected. Did she leave other jewelry? Huh? I don't know what that means. He says she left the ring as a, I don't want to be with you anymore. Here's the ring. Yeah, I think he acted alone. Yesterday I was thinking that maybe one of the other people helped out. They might have knowledge. But like Dustin said, don't want to say anything because it would end up I guess a conservator would still be able to keep them on and work. You know, maybe you need to have, that needs to be a deal. That you get a hold of Dale and you say, Dale, listen, if something happens, you tell us the truth here, you're not going to lose your job. We're going to keep it going. This is a very good business, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. Right. So he's just telling people. But his story, when he took her, he must have driven her away. I don't think he would be that stupid to put her on the property unless, you know, he did use one of the vats of some, you know, the dissolving compounds or whatever. But let's say he drove away, and I think that's the only reason the Hummer is here. I don't think he killed her and say, ooh, I got this really cool story about the ring, gets in the Hummer, drives it, and parks it here to tell people that. That would be dumb. To me, after, you know, he strangled, I'm just going to throw it out there, he strangles her. There isn't a lot of DNA exposure on a strangulation. So then you carry your body to the Hummer that was right here. He drives the Hummer and then he takes off. This is all done really quickly, probably wraps her up in something and heads off that way somewhere. Then while he's on driving there or back, whatever, he thinks, okay, man, I really got to cover this up. She was really angry and she left on her own. And what would she do if she left on her own? Oh yeah, she would leave her ring, you know, and then she would also pack up her curling iron, her dryer, and she'd take her cell phone and her purse. So let me make sure I got all, you know, he might have thought of those things before he took her. And then on the way back, he thought of the coup de grace, you know, the ring part. So as he drives back home, without her anymore, he pulls up and parks right there because that's the closest place to where he's thinking in his mind the ring would have been dropped off. It just kind of made sense to him for a moment. And then later the next day, after you guys are there and stuff, he's like, wait, why is the Hummer over there? Why would I like, why would she drive over there? He thought through it a little bit more, and then he moved it back to its original place because it just, I am speculating here. But I'm kind of going through how if it was a spontaneous murder, like it's just something that he snapped, he's going to be doing a lot of thinking as he's going along. See, that's why I'm coming up with that. It is absolute speculation, but it kind of makes sense to me. Because it is weird that he moved that Hummer. It's not his car. He consciously thought to himself, I need to move this Hummer back to where it normally is parked. Yeah, well, Barbara, what I was saying last night about the hairdryer and curling iron is what guy would even notice that a curling iron or hairdryer are even missing? Like, you're not even, you know, the only one that would somebody who's the one that packed the bag to make it look like somebody left. Yeah, Dale has the ring. He has the ring because it's worth a ton of money, and he, you know, it's part of his story. Like, what would he have done with the ring? You know, pawn it already? He would look like a worse than he already does. Yeah, and he knew, and I think Dale would be very aware of where the cameras were. I think he probably, was always a little bit aware of where the cameras were. Let's put it that way. Man, isn't that too bad? All they needed was a couple more cameras. One like that faces right there. One maybe at the top of the garage. One over, just. But I guess sometimes when you live in really safe areas, I'm sure there's hardly any crime out here. A lot of people just don't have cameras. You live over where I live and everybody has 8. Even though it's not really, perceived as dangerous, it's just like you live in a city long enough. I don't live downtown or anything. I live in the suburb part, but you think of having a lot of cameras. Yeah, it sucks, Jennifer. It's this story is one of those ones that's really obvious to anybody that follows true crime on a regular basis and covers many cases. The Patrick Frazee one is one that's really pops into my head a lot on this one. What was her name, by the way? Let's see. I've got it in here. Hold on. Frazee. There it is. Yeah, Kelsey Barrett. You guys remember that one, right? Yeah, so you guys remember the Kelsey Barrett case here. I mean, this is from, it's almost at the top up here. Probably two and a half years ago, maybe. Oh, that's wild. So many crossover cases there. Well, that was in Idaho. Where was the... That's right down here. Yeah, that's his property right here. So this is what I'm talking about. It looks so similar. You look at something like this, it's there was a burn pit where they burned her entire body inside of a tote in this case. And it was just absolutely wild. He had a girlfriend that he convinced to kill the mother of his daughter, but she didn't do it on 2 different occasions. So he went over there on, I think it was Thanksgiving, right? If I remember correctly. And he went inside with a baseball bat and just beat her absolutely just horrendous. And then he had the girlfriend go over there and clean up all of the spatter so that she'd be part of it. And then they took her body in a tote and held it in a barn for a while. And then they took the tote out of the barn and took it to a bonfire at his mom's house. And they just slowly watched it burning in a pit. It was absolutely ludicrous. But it just shows you what people do, But in that case, that was absolutely premeditated. And then Cheryl Coker, for example. All right, so I'm just going to I'm going to show you guys these ones because a lot of people still probably aren't aware of these. Like Cheryl Coker is a crazy one. See, I've got this one all mapped out. See, Cheryl Coker went missing. And I don't even have the dates right now, but it was 3 years ago or so. 2.5 maybe. And they found her vehicle parked right there. And I think in the morning she'd driven her child to school. Then she went home and texted some friends on the internet, on Facebook, I think. And then everything just stopped. She disappeared. Then later in the evening, they see that her vehicle's parked right there. And later on through the investigation, we end up finding there's surveillance footage of the car pulling in and parking right in that stall right there. Then there's a guy in a dark outfit that takes off and walks on this green line, basically. And this is how I'm guessing. And then, so that was at 10:52. Okay. Then on that same green path here, A witness right in this area sees this person in a dark hoodie. Then another witness saw the guy in the dark hoodie right here. Then the person went back where the school is here, and 3 surveillance cameras filmed the guy in the dark hoodie walking by. And guess what? That's the Coker's house right there. So, and the husband said he was there when, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. All right. And so, and then they show the husband wearing all dark at a store buying some items of some sort. And then like a year later, they found her body right here. I don't think it was that one. In the woods right here. So that's where her body was placed. And he's still the #1 suspect, and actually is the only suspect. They just haven't got the evidence that leads directly to the murder. Now, I think a jury might actually convict him because of all the circumstantial evidence. He and his wife were they were in a relationships where it was open, where they could date other people as long as you didn't fall in love with somebody else. So the husband fell in love with somebody else, went on trips even with the other person. They were on a trip and just got back from that trip the same day that she goes missing. And he claimed that she just left. Same damn story. Yeah. Man, there's so many of them. And then we've also got, let's see. Melissa Pesky, for example. Here's another one. Yeah, Melissa Pesky. Let me get the... Yeah, I think it was South Dakota, yeah. Yeah, South Dakota, and she lived in this little town here. Her husband was a violent person and had threatened her. She'd told a friend, if I ever get killed by a gun, it'll be my husband. Okay, so he was coming back or just got back from military deployment, but he was just absolutely wacko. So she decided to leave with her kids, and she was driving. She was doing this long cross-country trip to like South Carolina, and then I believe it's let me see where this, right here. Yeah, right in this area right here. There's this like 20-mile long straightaway right here. That's part of the trip. It's on the map. Well, look at that. It's absolutely straight as an arrow. And right at this mile marker here, a bullet came through the side window and hit her in the head with her 2 kids in the car. And then the car crossed the median here and crashed into the side of the hill over here. Okay, the kids were fine. And I believe that Melissa Pesky was being tracked here. And a car drove right up next to her, rolled down their window, and just shot right through the other window and hit her right in the head. And I think that was, I believe, allegedly, that there's a good chance it was her husband or somebody related to her husband. Because she was actually fearing for her life, leaving her husband, and on the trip gets shot in the head through the car window. You don't find that? What are the odds that it was just some random person? Yeah. Yep. So that's where I'm at. I mean, there's just so many. I bet you there's 50 more that we've done. To be honest with you.
Hey, did you hear when people say to be honest with you? That means they lie all the other times.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't mean that. Tell McDummy that it doesn't mean that. Alright. Yeah, it's sad. Sucks. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Barry Morphew, Moletes, very similar. Yep. So many. Well, if anybody wants to call in with their stories, you feel free to do so. We're about 80% now of a normal night with 2 shows under my belt. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay on. That's a lot of effort to put in. 3.5 hours already today. Anyway, listen. You guys want to watch that press conference again on the? I'm just going to turn off Zoom. I don't have time. Unless anybody's going to call in. Is anybody calling in? Put a yes or no. Yeah, the Hart family is not really related, but yeah, that one sucked. Yeah, I'm tired. Alright, I'm gonna get out of here. Alright. You know that, what is it? The shopping cart killer. There was a press conference. I think we covered it on the 15th, but I was just watching it again. It's becoming bigger. Sounds like this guy was like pretty much a barbarian. We can watch that, and then I'm gonna go to bed, or just do something else. Is that it right there? All right.
Everybody ready? Good afternoon. I'm joined here today by Chief Kelly Warner.
You know what's really weird about this guy? You ever notice how voices fit somebody's look? Like, this guy's voice is exactly the same as Chris Christie, and he kind of looks like he could be his, like a, brother or some sort.
Of the Harrisonburg, Virginia Police Department, and you all know Major Ed O'Carroll, who's the Bureau Chief of our Major Crimes Bureau. We're here today to talk about a serial killer, and that is a phrase that I've used sparingly.
Basically, this is the same press conference we played like 3 weeks ago, but a lot of people probably forgot about it or don't remember it. We covered this case, I don't know, I think on the 17th of December. So, listening to it now, and then there's some new information. There's a 5th victim, apparently, in like D.C., and they're starting to put a lot of the pieces together where these bodies are found in shopping carts and horrific things are done to their bodies.
In my 3 decades in this profession, I've been in a leadership role for the last decade or so at several departments in the National Capital Region and the DMV, and I can count on one hand, with a couple fingers left over, the number of times where law enforcement has had to grapple with the impact of a serial killer. We have a serial killer. The good thing is he's in custody. The challenge that remains is identifying other victims, and we're going to talk about that at great length. Our serial killer is called the shopping cart killer. He's called the shopping cart killer because he meets his victims, and so far we have 4. 2 are positively identified, 1 is tentatively identified, and 1 is unknown. He meets his victims on dating sites. He meets his victims then at motels, and we'll talk about a motel that he met two of his victims at here in Fairfax County. Chief Warner will go into the motel down in Harrisonburg where he met and killed two of his victims. After he inflicts trauma to his victims and kills them, he transports their bodies to their final resting place, literally in a shopping cart. And there's video to that effect. So our shopping cart killer, we know, has traveled from the DMV all the way down to Harrisonburg. We're in the process of conducting, along with many other partners, a retrospective investigation to figure out where he's been. And we're going to find out exactly where he's been. And we're going to work with our law enforcement partners, homicide detectives, missing person detectives, to see if we can identify any other victims and families and communities that he has brought harm to. The two victims in Harrisonburg, females, one's 54, one's 34. The known suspected victim here in Fairfax is 29 years old. I want to thank Chief Rob Conti from the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, D.C. When we start talking about these cases, you'll quickly remember the name Cheyenne Brown. Cheyenne Brown is who we tentatively believe one of our victims located here in Fairfax County is. We don't have 100% positive identification on her just yet, but we have a tattoo that's been positively identified by her family as Cheyenne's tattoo. And the reason why we're not waiting to share this information, waiting, that is, until we get positive 100% DNA or dental verification that it is Cheyenne, is because we believe that there may be other victims in the area and throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we need to act now. We need to act right now with our law enforcement partners to figure out who else our killer has had contact with and what's his MO. Dating sites, motels, blunt force trauma, shopping cart, final resting place. He's killed 4 already, and we suspect that he has more victims. He's a predator, as all serial killers are, and it's our collective effort in law enforcement to do everything we can with each other, with the community, to identify other places where he has been so we can bring closure and ultimately justice. He preys on the weak, he preys on the vulnerable, and he does unspeakable things with his victim. Our shopping cart killer does unspeakable things with his victims. And it's our collective duty and responsibility to bring justice and closure to all of our communities. I think I'm going to introduce first Chief Kelly Warner again from the Harrisonburg Police Department. She's been a great partner, as has her entire police department. And then Chief Warner will bring up Major O'Carroll. Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Good afternoon, everyone. I join Chief Davis in sending our condolences to all the victims' families in this tragedy that happened across the Commonwealth of Virginia. On November 23rd, 2021, Harrisonburg Police Department identified 2 female victims that were found dead in an open lot in a commercial district of the city of Harrisonburg. Anthony Robinson, age 35, was arrested as a result of video surveillance and cell phone records that connected him to 2 victims. The first victim, as Chief Davis mentioned, was Elizabeth Redmond, age 54, of Harrisonburg, and Tanita Laree Smith, age 39, of Charlottesville. Harrisonburg Police Department and Charlottesville Police Department were conducting 2 separate missing persons investigations, which resulted in narrowing the focus to search this open lot. Both women were discovered within a short distance of each other, dead, although their deaths took place at 2 separate times.
Hey, Dustin, here's what the sound effect I would play when, like, this is what a good sheriff sounds like. Listen to this one.
Evil can never be dead enough.
Evil can never be dead enough, right? And then, this is also Grady Judd quotes.
5 brain cells, 4 aren't working.
I think he was talking to the sheriff in your community when he said that.
Did you hear what I said? You know, that's just one step above stupid.
I could have played that when he was doing those interviews. Oh, man.
On November 30th, 2020, a Metropolitan PD contacted the Harrisonburg Major Crimes Division and noted that the last known person that a missing person that they were investigating had contact with Robinson. It was a result of that information, HPD Major Crimes was able to determine that through cell phone records, that contact took place in and around the area of the Moon Inn on Richmond Highway in Alexandria. Then we received contact from Fairfax Police Department, and Major O'Carroll's team contacted us. And so then we began this coordinated effort to track down more victims, unfortunately, that were at the hands of this shopping cart killer, Mr. Robinson. So now I'd like to introduce Major O'Connor.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, I'm Major Ed O'Carroll. I have the pleasure of heading the Fairfax County Police Department's Major Crime, Cyber, and Forensics Bureau. 10 days ago, on December 7th, detectives from the Fairfax County, Virginia Police Department received a call for assistance from the Metropolitan Washington, D.C. Police Department for help in locating a missing female. My team immediately pulled resources together to aid in the search. Detectives were informed that Miss Cheyenne Brown, 29, of Washington, D.C., took the Metro from Washington, D.C. to the Huntington Metro stop on September 30th and never returned. Digital data showed that Miss Brown was in the 6100 block of Richmond Highway, possibly at the Moon Inn on the night of her disappearance. Homicide detectives, with assistance of a cadaver dog from the George Mason University Police Department, responded to the Moon Inn in that immediate area and conducted a search. Unfortunately, we were unable to locate Miss Brown or any evidence relevant to her whereabouts. My team traveled to Harrisonburg to meet the chief and her detective team and to gather additional intelligence about the link between Miss Brown and our suspect and the nexus to Fairfax County. Detectives from my homicide squad coordinated with the Metro Transit Police Department and actually located video surveillance of Miss Brown at the Huntington Metro stop on September 30th. We authored a search warrant, executed for cellular data, and we received it immediately, confirming that Miss Brown and the suspect were at the same location on September 30th, the night of her disappearance. Video surveillance confirms that the...
Yeah, you can smoke whatever you want, Colin. But that's not what you said the other night. What you said was moronic. Okay, you made it sound like I was judging somebody for smoking. So you're not going to get off easy here, Colin. What you need to do is apologize for what you said the other night, because it was so out of line and out of time. It was absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I said that don't send money to Greeno for his birthday because he's going to spend it on drugs and not the equipment that he claims because he's a grifter. Okay, that's what I said. And you said, well, at least I'm not judgmental about doing drugs. I smoke dope all the time. And it was absolutely ludicrous. Okay, so there you go.
Victim and the suspect were together in Washington, D.C. At the same Metro stop on that fateful night. This past Wednesday morning, new information was provided that took my detectives back to the area of the Moon Inn to expand their original search. Wednesday afternoon, just 2 days ago on December 15th, homicide detectives found what had caught their eye, which is in the wooded area just off Route 1 of an item that required a little bit more of investigative research. Remembering that the victims in the Harrisonburg murders were transported by using a shopping cart, detectives observed a shopping.
See, I mean, this is really crazy. So this guy is an actual, like, serial, a serial killer. Not like, well, he was just somebody who killed a lot of different people over a lot of period of time. This is one of those ones where he was using a dating service app, to hook up with people, and then he would kill them, and he did stuff, they're not even saying what it is, but so horrendous to their bodies, like puts them in containers and then wheels them out, and it's his signature, like a shopping cart. It's really bizarre. I mean, this is one of the ones that the behavioral unit would give a shit to study. It's crazy.
Cart in the wooded area, not far from the Moon Inn. Besides the shopping cart was a lone container. When detectives looked inside the lone container, their worst fears were confirmed. They observed what appeared to be human remains. We contacted the Office of the Medical Examiner. They responded, along with an anthropologist from the George Mason University, Dr. Falsetti. And thank you to the doctor and the team. The initial analysis done on the scene confirmed what we thought. Likely human remains were inside. Through a coordinated effort between the Fairfax County Police Department, Harrisonburg, the Metropolitan Police Department, detectives tentatively believe the remains discovered in the container are that of Miss Brown. As the Chief Davis mentioned, the tentative identification is based upon a very distinct tattoo that Miss Brown had on her body. We are working with the Department of Forensic Science and further DNA testing to positively and scientifically confirm her identity. Sadly, these remains were not alone in the container. The remains of another unknown identified individual were discovered. Detectives have been working non-stop.
So inside the same container, there was another body in the container. Like, I'm not even sure what he means by a container. What kind of a container can fit into a shopping cart and have multiple bodies in it? I mean, what are we talking about here?
On this case, since being notified of Miss Brown's disappearance in Fairfax County, we have determined that the suspect in custody in Harrisonburg was communicating with Miss Brown, utilizing a dating website. Detectives are hoping that further examination of these records that we have and more that are coming will provide additional information on who the second victim is. We have a lot of work to do. While the investigation, the multi-jurisdictional investigation, is still young, and we are in the early stages, detectives believe that the deaths were at the hand of the serial killer. The suspect, thankfully in custody at the Rockingham County, Virginia jail.
Yeah, so they've got the guy, right? But now they're going back, they're working backwards to try to find all the people that he's killed. And what they're looking for are people that survived him.
And again, we believe him to be involved in the death of these two additional innocent victims. Special thanks to the detective team, the lead detective, Detective Young.
This guy sounds like John Walsh.
Her squad, to our crime scene unit, all our staff, sworn and professional, and to our victim services, thank you. It's a team effort. There may be other victims in this case, and we are asking for anyone with additional information to come forward. Call the Fairfax County Police Department Major Crimes Bureau at 703-246-7800. Tips can also be submitted anonymously through our Crime Solvers program, and that phone number is 1-866-411-TIPS. That's 1-866-411-TIPS. Again, anonymous tipsters can make that call, and there is a reward program for information that leads to charges. So my remarks in closing is not to the suspect, and it's not to my team. It's to the impacted families. I'm sorry. My deepest condolences. This police department, the Harrisonburg Police Department, all the agency mentioned are absolutely committed. Justice will prevail, and the offender will be held accountable for what he did, and we haven't ruled out they, I'll use the plural term, maybe what they did, and how he or they did it. Thank you.
Questions? Sam?
So are we to presume that perhaps this fourth victim is somebody from this area, because you say the remains were found in the same container?
So, Sam, we have not positively identified the fourth victim, but we have leads.
Chris
that
Christie's
will
little brother.
Hopefully, in short order, help us identify this unidentified person. We do have leads on who it may be. The state of decomposition was so bad that it's going to take a little bit of work. But we have leads about a missing person in particular in the area, last seen in the area, that we're following very closely.
In this area?
Last seen in this area.
Chief,
Bruce?
as I understand it, Ms. Brown was 4 months pregnant. Does Virginia law allow you to charge for the death of that?
They should.
Yeah, so I've spoken with the Office of the Commonwealth Attorney. I've spoken with the Commonwealth Attorney. He's aware of this case. He was when it...
So if you're pro-choice, you have to say that that 4-month-old baby that was killed by the serial killer isn't alive yet. So he shouldn't get punished at all.
First came to light, and then to our surprise, that we have 2 victims, not one. That's something that's part of the investigation, and we haven't ruled anything out on potential charges for the person or persons responsible for these deaths. As I said in my comments, and I'll emphasize them because they're important, justice will prevail.
Okay, 1, 2.
Two quick questions. Has the suspect been cooperating at all, acknowledging any of these crimes? And then secondarily, is there DNA evidence to tie him to 1, 2, or more of these crimes?
I'll ask Chief Warner to speak about the degree of cooperation. We certainly don't want to compromise the integrity of Chief Warner's investigation or our pending investigation, but I'll let the Chief address that. And DNA forensic evidence is always something that we're seeking. As we mentioned, the state of decomposition for the 2 victims found here in Fairfax County was so bad that it's going to take a little while to get 100% certain identification, but we have every reason to believe that Cheyenne Brown is one of the 2 persons in that container.
And there's physical evidence as well to tie him to each scene or the other cases?
There's certainly mounting evidence that puts our killer right here in Fairfax County, just like he was placed right there in Harrisonburg. So, Chief, do you want to add to that?
Regarding Pierre, yes, to the physical evidence, we're collecting physical evidence, of course, to echo Chief Davis. Certainly, we're collecting all of that for DNA, and so we're going to hone in on that for certain. And regarding his cooperation, he does have an attorney, so we have not had a statement from him, so no.
Chief Davis, 2 quick questions. Have you guys been in contact with any federal law enforcement, and are federal law enforcement assisting you guys as of right now in the investigation?
Yeah, again, I don't mean to punt back to back, but I'll ask Chief Warner to describe some outreach that she has already had with Quantico. And then I'll reiterate, we are going to engage in a very thorough retrospective examination. We're working backwards right now. So thankfully, Anthony Robinson is in custody. We believe he's responsible for these 4 deaths. But what else is he responsible for? We know that he's had addresses as far north as New York, to Prince George's County, to Washington, D.C., and we know he's obviously traveled all the way down to Harrisonburg. But where else has he been? Where else has he laid his head? Where else has he worked? Who does he know in all the jurisdictions in between? So it's going to be a real thoughtful, thorough effort because we need to work, again, with the jurisdictions to see if any of their missing persons meets the profile that we're establishing here for our killer's profile. And MO and all those types of things.
And a quick follow-up, you mentioned that they were meeting at a hotel and had met or different hotels and met on dating apps. Do you believe that there's a sexual motive at all? Were any of these victims sexually abused or had sexual contact with the person?
Yeah, I don't know that with certainty, but again, that's something that we're obviously exploring. Chief, do you want to add to the earlier piece?
Just that we are working backwards right now. That's what we have to do. He's in custody now, and so that's what we have to take those steps just to go backwards, right? Because your question was working with the federal government. Sure, they're helping us now. The main thing is that he is in custody, so they are assisting us in that investigation because they have a bigger web for us. So to answer your question, then is yes.
It sounds like the victims that you know of now were people missing over a period of weeks or months. Do you have any working theory as to how far back you're going to be looking? Could it be going back years and years, or more recent, or just don't know?
Well, we really don't know. Again, we don't know. That's why we're asking for the public's help. And we're scanning. This has gone out through all of our fusion centers. Do you know of any other missing persons? We're trying to gather as much intel as possible. I mean, Chief said it best. We are working backwards. That's why the Major put it out. Do you know? Is there any more information? Please get it to us.
Could you describe, you said the bodies were found in a container in Fairfax County. Could you describe what that container was? And can you give us any background on Robinson? And not much is known about it.
It was a large plastic container, and like Major
of
O'Carroll described,
large
adjacent to the container where we found the remains of our two victims was a shopping cart.
See, I wonder why if there was a tote, wouldn't they call
So
it a tote?
probably not remarkable to serial killers going back many years in many other places across the country. A remarkable absence of a criminal history. A remarkable absence. So that's why we're going to need help from family, friends, associates, employers, neighbors, anyone who can shed a little bit of light on Anthony Robinson's profile. He's, I think he was pretty transient. I think he had many jobs over the years. But again, that transient nature is going to, or has rather, prompted us to figure out where he's been over the last several years. And this, like you said, this could go back. We're going into this wide open, clear-minded, open eyes to see how far back and how many victims he may be responsible for taking their lives.
Is the lead. One last question. With the dating app as a lead, are you able to identify other names that you're going to follow up, and if you could give us a sense of how many names that might be?
Yes, absolutely. That's why I said we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of digital evidence in this case, a lot of search warrants that have and will be written. But let me just give you a time frame. An autopsy is underway today. This case is still active to uncover the two remains in the one container. Has had us busy yesterday and today. It's a tragedy. I see you kind of shaking your head, and I agree. This case has us shaking our head. Why? Because the victims did nothing wrong. Didn't have to happen. But justice will prevail. So we have a lot of work to do, and I do think from the video surveillance that we found, from the digital footprint that has been left by at least one of our victims and the suspect, this case is falling together to hold that offender accountable.
Are you releasing some of that video evidence so the public can help in the case?
So we have released the suspect's or the arrestee's photo. And as the chief said, when we did look at his criminal history, when we started doing our workup, it's absent. Actually, the only thing that showed was the 4 charges in Harrisonburg, the 2 murders and the felony disposal of human remains. So we will locate every step.
Yes, Audrey, that's what this whole thing is about. They're looking for people who he contacted using the dating apps that they discussed earlier. I already brought up how it's sort of similar to Anthony Shots. They want to look at all the people that communicated with that account. All right. So when people say something, don't repeat what other people say. Just say, yeah, like whatever what so and so said. Hey, look at what Zozo just said. Yeah. All right. Hey, let me move it back to where it is.
Through all of our fusion centers.
File. I think he was pretty transient. I think he had many jobs over the years. But again, that transient nature is gonna, or has rather, prompted us to figure out where he's been over the last several years. And this, like you said, this could go back. We're going into this wide open, clear-minded, open eyes to see how far back and how many victims he may be responsible for taking their lives.
Yeah, I'm avoiding what you wrote there, Zozo.
Are you able to identify other names that you were going to follow up, and if you could give us a sense of how many names that might be?
Yes, absolutely. That's why I said we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of digital evidence in this case, a lot of search warrants that have and will be written. But let me just give you a time frame. An autopsy is underway today. This case is still active to uncover the two remains in the one container. Has had us busy yesterday and today. It's a tragedy.
Lindsay.
I see you kind of shaking your head, and I agree. This case has us shaking our head. Why? Because the victims did nothing wrong. Didn't have to happen. But justice will prevail. So we have a lot of work to do, and I do think from the video surveillance that we found, from the digital footprint that has been left by at least one of our victims and the suspect, this case is falling together to hold that offender accountable.
Are you releasing some of that?
See, here's the thing. These walls have eyes. Like I try to avoid anytime somebody says, "Is it possible that?" I just run for the hills. Okay. Could he possibly have another name? Well, sure. But what evidence do you have that he has a different name? Okay, are you trying to make the comparison that it was actually Keegan Klein and then there was an Anthony Schatz name being... just come on. All right, let's just give me some evidence and then say it. That'd be great.
Video evidence of the public can help.
Who knows?
So
sure,
we have
possible.
released the suspects or the arrest.
See, the problem is when somebody goes, "Is it possible that?" The answer almost always has to be yes, but not very likely in almost every situation. But people run with that. Ooh.
Arrestee's photo. And as the chief said, when we did look at his criminal history, when we started doing our workup, it's absent. Actually, the only thing that showed was the 4 charges in Harrisonburg. The 2 murders and the felony disposal of human remains. So we will locate every step that Mr. Robinson took because he interacted with people. We know he's killed some of them. There might have been some that escaped or ran across him and have information. So we are working backwards. We've added additional team members from Fairfax, but this is a multi-jurisdictional case that will likely take us even out of Virginia.
I was just asking about the video in terms of, is there a video you will release or have released?
No, we're not intending to release the video right now. We're working with the families. We're trying to give them as much information because we're hours into this. It's still in the double digits so we're working with the families. If we find something that gives more light to who Mr. Robinson is, but we want people to come forward that have run across him. Maybe they work with him. Maybe they met him on a social media type site. Maybe they live down the street or they just ran into him at a grocery store. There are people that have information, and we're asking them to help us bring justice to these victims.
If it is just these 4 victims and the 4th victim is the person that you believe it is, over what period of time do you now know that he was operating? Over what period of time was this shopping cart killer operating?
Could his name have really been Jim?
Bruce, we're only going back a couple, 2 or 3 months. That's it. And that's what worries us. He didn't suddenly turn into who he is 3 months ago.
Right, he's 35.
So that's why we're painstakingly going through.
I mean, one thing is he's 35, and a lot of times these serial killers aren't doing the serial killing planning and all this kind of stuff till sort of almost around that time. That's I think that's almost the average starting age. I mean, yeah, they kill animals and so forth, but
whereabouts.
What are you guys laughing at? What happened? Like, why did Jennifer and Shogun Love start laughing? What are you laughing at?
His relationships, his employment history, to figure out if in fact there are other victims.
It was like 20 minutes
And like
ago.
Major O'Carroll said, he may have had interactions with women that he's met on these dating sites who have, for whatever reason,
What, though? Are you on rewind again, Shogun?
know something about him. It didn't go that far, obviously, with them, but no doubt in my mind that these are not the only 4 women, at least 3, maybe 4, that he's made contact with through his dating sites. There are others, and we need to do our best to identify them. Yes, sir.
Has Fairfax County filed any charges yet?
Not yet.
We have not, but charges are forthcoming.
Guys, we'll do 2 more questions.
Quick question about the TikTok threats that have been going around. I know it's a side note, but do you believe that any of the threats to public schools in Fairfax County, are there credibility to any of those? And are Fairfax
That was like,
police,
no, that was about
moving around the
5
school
minutes ago.
districts today?
Well, yeah, I'll say, first and foremost, we have a premier school resource officer program. Our SROs
You
are
got some weird buffering
part
going
of
on there,
a
Shogun.
nationally renowned SRO program. So we're aware of all those bits of information that come in, and we act upon.
Anyways, that's about it right there. There's nothing else going on in there. But this is the Moon Inn Hotel that he met a couple of the girls at, for sure, right there. But yeah, man, that was a frustrating day for trying to, we got to raise the funds every single night of the week, and for putting on 4 hours of show. That was one of the worst nights I've ever had. That's one of the nights where you go, man, that's you put all that time in, and all right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to end the show, and we'll be back on tomorrow. We're going to interview Greg, and he's actually the Greg Hardy. He's the brother of D, and I'm just going to let him sort of go through from what he knows. It's kind of hard. Like, where do you start with somebody like that? Where does it start? Do you go back to, maybe tell us a little bit about her, and then so it gets kind of, because we've already talked to everybody else about some of those things. But anyways, all right, you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and thank you to Swerbs, Eugenie, Cairo, Candalee, Woodward Stone, Your Gypsy, Cindy Leon, Lee D, Eugenie, Linda Howell, Linda Howell, Cindy Leon, Jessica Schubach, Georgina Stoliker, Tina Susser, Charisma, Cairo, and then new member Catherine Phillips, Lee D, Lily MX400, Jake, Cheyenne R, and then we've got I'm not sure what's going on. It's frozen on my screen here. Oh yeah, and then Lily, Lisa Wilkerson, Cammie Curry. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. What happened to the message? It got retracted. Yeah, I don't know how you would have missed that. It was good. But anyways, don't miss the show tomorrow, because we're going to have on Greg, who knows everything about it and has put everything together. All right? Yeah, he's the one he's kind of like taking place of the detectives who aren't there doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's pretty wild. 8 months later, and they're still just in this weird phase of, well, if you see her, we had to wait all those months for the ground to clear up. Well, what you could have been doing is investigating, Dale and all the stuff going on that the family members knew and have been probably trying to tell you, but you weren't listening. You ever thought of that? All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, flag rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gragel's gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temple fucking check ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody?
Goodbye, everybody.